Drive Home with Stacey and Jay Spoo, East Coast Radio.
We're having a very serious conversation affecting many malls across South Africa. This past weekend, a mall here in Durban experienced robbery, gunshots left, right and centre. We did get the news from our East Coast Radio Newswatch team that the Mkhwanazi team have been hard at work and they finally found the guy who was committing the crime. But it presents us the opportunity around the armed security at these malls. Is having visible armed security at malls the solution to curb robberies? What are your thoughts? Let us know on 061 792 9495.
Up first from Durban, we have Gary. Gary, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello, Stacey. How are you doing?
No, we're good. So, Gary, I believe that you work in retail, right? So this is a reality for you on the rigs.
So I work for a retail company. We own multiple. I'm at head office down in Durban, but we own multiple stores throughout South Africa.
Yeah.
And I mean, we deal with this kind of stuff, not jewellery obviously, but I mean, theft on a weekly basis. I mean, we've got stores that are up in Joburg that were hit. We got hit 3 times in the space of 3 weeks.
Damn.
Okay, so Gary, in your opinion, as somebody who I would imagine if you're sitting at head office, you have a margin, right, for things that quote unquote go missing, that somehow just manage to walk out the store on their own. There is that cover recuperated by the company, but when it comes to these coordinated thefts, do you think that if you had armed guards outside of all of your stores that would decrease the chance of there being a coordinated hit on one of your brands? Or do you think that would deter people from wanting to go in and actually buy stuff?
I think it's a bit of a catch-22 because having armed guards visible would obviously install a bit of safety for the patrons that are attending the malls and the shops. However, that comes at a massive cost, which obviously I know the cost in terms of having guards for 2 or 3 nights. So in order to have guards posted there permanently, I mean, it's going to rack up quite a hefty cost. Especially if you look at the size of the malls, how many people you're going to need there to make it.
And how many exits and how many entrances. And
then those costs are all going to then go back to the landlord or the owner of the mall, or whoever's monitoring the mall. And it relates back to the tenants, and the tenants' rent or their costs are then going up, which means the merchandise costs going up, and it's going to negatively affect the pockets of the customers.
Yeah, that's fair, right? Because I mean, if criminals are seeing that the security officers are carrying guns, then as they try to get into the store, the fight is inevitably going to cost at least someone's life at risk.
No, well, I mean, it's also just the financial liability that somehow will trickle down to the consumer.
Another point, Gary, sorry. What do you think about less predictable security patterns? Because I'm assuming the criminals know what to say. These securities are here between this time and this time. It's become so predictable that criminals can actually then just do what they want.
Well, that's the thing, is that a lot of the malls you might find that there's 1 or 2 armed guards, but I mean, for them to get it from one side of the mall to the other side of the mall, the criminals are enough. And in terms of your armed response, I mean, armed response, if they're not in the exact area, it's going to take them 3-4 minutes. Yeah. And for example, the shops that we got hit a couple of weeks ago, on CCTV in 2 minutes.
Bro.
So, I mean, 2 minutes is more than enough time. It's not enough time for your armed responses to get in there.
Gary, thank you very much, and thank you for your insight as well as somebody who deals with this on a regular basis. We appreciate this. Thank you. And I think if anything, not that it's made anybody feel better necessarily. In fact, on the contrary, but it is something that is commonplace, right?
Too much, bro.
All over the show, left, right, and centre in every single part of South Africa at the moment. We also have Billy on the line from Pinetown. Billy, how are you?
I'm good, and you, Sadie?
No, we're good. So, my Billy, we're asking, how do you feel about having visible armed security at malls? Is that the solution to curb robberies, in your opinion?
I'd approve that. I used to do cash and transit, and our pickup was at that certain mall.
Don't mention it.
And we weren't allowed to take rifles inside. I mean, that puts people at bigger risk. But I think if the security guards, if they're well trained and they carry, these guys won't come looking for that fight because they know they're going to get resistance.
Yeah.
And that's not what they want.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bill, for that.
Thank you, Billy.
Some
Thank
great
you so
insight.
much.
It definitely needs to be coordinated more. People need to be trained more. It needs to be less predictable. You need to work smart because they're also getting smarter by the day.
It's also, I think, the fact that we have to have this conversation at all is in and of itself quite devastating. Why should we have to have these things happen?
People should know how to act.
Why can't we go to the movies or go and buy our groceries?
Crazy.
And why must we feel unsafe in this kind of situation? The conversation will continue. The question that we're asking you today in light of recent events is, having security at malls the solution, in your opinion, to curb robberies? Give us a call.
So joining us right now to be a part of this, Nicola. The show, Nicola, how you doing?
Hi, guys. Hi, it's Nicole. Nicole from Durban.
Sorry,
how
my
are
bad.
you? No problem.
I'm so used to Nicola.
Yeah, we know several Nicholas.
My bad, and I apologize. But back to what we're talking about right now. Do you feel like having armed security is safer? Does it just, or is it just a feeling and actually doesn't guarantee safety? What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, guys, I am in the security industry, so I can give you a professional take on this, if you will. When it comes to having armed guards, in an environment such as a shopping mall, it creates a liability risk, if you will, which is probably your biggest reason, because if an armed guard, if there is a case like there was today at Gateway, fires a weapon, a stray round could hit a shopper. There's ricochet risks, in enclosed spaces, which can also cause panic stabbing.
Yeah.
In these cases, the shopping centre owners can be held legally responsible, even if the guard is justified. This also just dramatically increases insurance premiums and legal exposure. Mm-hmm. So, malls, they're very crowded environments, which would be cause it to be an unsafe, unsafe
compromise safety.
Yeah. So, shopping centres, as you know, is families, children. There's multiple glass storefronts, narrow walkways, and multiple entry points. So, firearms in these environments can create an uncontrolled ballistic risk. Unlike where there's blanks or cash and transit operations, those zones are controlled for those, to have weapons and firearms. And as you've seen with the videos, today with all the panic, then escalate robberies into shootouts, encourage criminals to come heavier armed, and also increase, risk during smash and grab incidents, for the looting and just complete mayhem.
Yeah.
So that's just my take on it.
No, well, I mean, Nicole, thank you, because again, just the insight from a security perspective as well, and the reality of how that would make people feel. So it's not like, oh, okay, well, I feel safe, and it's okay, but also now look at all this other stuff. Look at all the other things that could potentially go wrong.
Yes, because with public perception and panic, customers will also often feel unsafe around rifles and handguns. Look, even in security, I know when I'm around other guards that are, carrying these heavy weapons and that, it just creates an uneasy environment, and parents would feel nervous bringing children around, and it also causes, concern about crime levels. So it'd be like all of a sudden Gateway is full of armed guards. Oh, don't go to Gateway; it's not safe.
Yeah.
Nicole, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Very insightful.
We're going to go to Katie now, just to wrap it up for us nice and easy. Katie, welcome, all the way from Durban North. What are your thoughts on what we're talking about?
I was thinking maybe something where all the high-risk shops, like the jewellery stores and like the banking hall, are all in one section. So then you can have armed responses close to those areas rather than all around.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay, so basically, if you are a high risk, you've been deemed high risk,
like
because
jewelry, your high-end
so if you
clothing stores,
exactly,
be close to each other,
and banking
like
at the same time.
Area.
Yes.
So there you have armed guards at certain entrances that are close to that, so that that's making people feel scared of the big guns.
Yeah, Yazi, well, Katie, that's such a practical piece of advice. But with how malls understand psychology and how they use psychology in terms of like walking in and where certain stores need to be, that's all planned. So I don't
Yes,
think
I know.
they would appreciate the practicality of that instead of making more money. But that's actually
They
a
want
really
you to
great
walk
idea.
around the whole day.
100%.
Yeah, no, yeah.
100%.
Katie will be
Well done, though. 5 marks for you.
Yeah, we'll be in charge of zoning in all shopping establishments moving forward. Thank you so much, my Katie.
Hey, man.
So look, some pretty insightful stuff that's come through here, and just as far as opinions are concerned, we've also got this up on our Facebook page, and you've had a lot to say there too. Anonymous saying, afternoon, I'd like to say that in Bangkok, Thailand, they have metal detectors. So as you walk through, there are 2 guards there at each entrance, and if those guards detect metal, they check.
Oh, that's smart.
So
That's
maybe
smart.
that's a less obviously invasive and abrasive of just also psychologically for you as the customer who is in that particular store or shopping space, that you'd be like, okay, cool, at least I know that there's an added layer of security, but it isn't brash.
Yeah, no, this is very powerful. Listen, we can talk for days about this because it does compromise our safety, and we too would love to go to a mall and know that we are safe. But good news, Mkwanaz's team is graphing. They've caught the subsequently obtained. But yeah, it just speaks to a larger issue about safety at these malls.
Hi guys, thanks for the great show. I'm V. My take on the whole situation is that our problem is not security, guys. Our problem is crime. And that's what we need to curb. Why should we now dig into our pockets to try and tighten security, have armed guards, which is going to come obviously at a hefty price? Somebody's going to have to pay for it, and it's going to be us. Whereas the problem is actually crime. That's not going to stop the crime. It's just they're going to come prepared. They're going to come prepared knowing full well what to expect when they are there. So it might just make the situation worse. You also got to consider, if these guards are armed and armed robbers are coming in, you're obviously going to fire. We have customers that are walking. We have shoppers that are there. We have kids that are there. So it's obviously not the best idea, I think.
Hi guys, on that robbery in the jewelry stores, I just got a question. Why don't they, for instance, move all this high risk or high value stores to a certain place deeper inside the mall, and they can only secure that place with maybe 1 or 2 armed guards and charge those stores an additional fee for the guards? That makes sense to me.
Afternoon, team. Yeah, this takes me back to when there were bombings in the streets in the 80s. We didn't have dustbins in the city centre. If there was a package or a parcel left somewhere, you'd look at it twice. And the malls had security that would check your bags with their wands, their magnetic wands. The joke about that, and my friend proved how inefficient they were. He was carrying his firearm and 2 knives on him. I didn't pick them up. So increased security going back to the 80s. It's not physically viable.
Stacey and Jay Spoo, KZN's #1 hit music station, East Coast Radio.